Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And welcome to the next FP&A Trends webinar. And today we have a very interesting subject, the art and science of FP&A storytelling. Very quickly, let me remind you about the agenda. So today we are going to look at some of the case studies and some sharing of the experience and thought leadership sharing as well. And we will have a case study from Beckman Coulter on StoryMaker for revenue forecasting. We will look at self-service analytics and how it supports FP&A storytelling. And we will look at storytelling from the point of view of technology and lesson learned. Of course, we will have some conclusions and practical recommendations and Q&A session at the end. My name is Larissa Melnichuk. I'm Managing Director of International FP&A Board and FP&A Trends Group. And I'm so happy to invite, to introduce you to the panelists, to our panelists today. So we have Pascal De La Puca, who is Global Shared Services Leader, Senior Director Finance at Beckman Coulter. Pascal is a member of our Geneva FP&A board, has a lot of experience across different disciplines of finance, including FP&A, and he's a member of FP&A board in Geneva. Pascal is going to talk about practical case study from his company on FP&A storytelling. Pascal, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you, Larissa. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pascal. We have Angelica Ansira, who is Global Digital Planning Lead at PepsiCo. Angelica has a lot of experience, very solid background, especially at the subject of analytical transformation of the company, over 20 years of experience. Angelica is a member of our Artificial Intelligence Machine Learning Committee and also a member of our Geneva FP&A board. Angelica, welcome to the webinar.
Hi, Larissa. Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And finally, we have Tima Elliot, who is VP and Global Innovation Evangelist at SAP. Tima has almost 30 years of experience in introduction of technology at different levels and different organizations in finance. And his articles appear regularly at publications such as Harvard Business Review, Forbes, and Digital Magazine, and many others. And he worked in many countries around the globe, including UK, Hong Kong, New Zealand, and the US. Timo, welcome to the webinar. Glad to see you here.
Thank you, and hello, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very quickly, I would like to say thank you so much to our technology partner, SAP. Thank you so much for supporting this webinar. Very quickly about FP&A Trends Group. So this is my organization, and we started to travel the world with FP&A project a little bit more than 4 years ago. You can see all of those cities and countries. Not possible to travel in person at the moment, not possible to have face-to-face meetings, but obviously we continue our digital travel at the moment. And next year we will restart. But by the way, we already had our first new normal face-to-face meeting on the 22nd of September in Copenhagen, and it went really well, very inspirational and a great reminder that it will pass as well. Some household items. So it will be 1 hour webinar. Your participation would be possible through 2 polling questions. Please remember to vote. It would be very easy with this platform. We will have interactive Q&A session at the end of the meeting, but you're welcome to use your chat box straight away when the presentation starts. And even if we don't have enough time to answer all of your questions, we will be able to do this after the meeting, and we will send you emails with answers. And of course, networking is so important. So if you would like to connect directly with our speakers through LinkedIn, you will be able to do this, but please indicate this webinar. And of course, at the end of the meeting, we will have a survey. So please don't disappear straight away. It's very important for us to understand how we're doing. So FP&A storytelling, traveling the world, we had those discussions in many countries around the globe, in Europe and in America and in the Middle East, and it's always a very full and interesting discussion. I would like to start this meeting with this quote from Hal Varian, who is Google's chief economist. It's all about storytelling. So the ability to take data, to be able to understand them, to process, to extract value from data, to visualize and communicate it, it's going to be a hugely important skill in the next decade. But at the same time, when we translate this into FP&A, the key to using analytics, it's obviously about extracting insights that drive effective decision making. And obviously storytelling works as a lever to get the most out of those insights. This is the quote from one of our FP&A Trends authors, John Sanchez. I think you're all familiar with situations when FP&A groups, FP&A teams produce incredible insights, very complex analytics, but sometimes it couldn't be understood by decision makers, and then it couldn't be realized. The full potential of this analytics couldn't be realized. Some results from our global FP&A Trends survey. So unfortunately, for the third year that we do in this survey, we can see that up to 42% of the time for FP&A professionals is spent on low-value activities. And obviously, it's not the great one. And FP&A storytelling, this is the purpose. This is the way how we create insights and how we change the culture of the company. But also 35 organizations provide, only 35 organizations provide their C-suite with access to the real-time business performance, only 35%. And the rest, they don't have this opportunity. It's difficult to tell the story if you don't have these capabilities. And of course, it's all about simplicity. We can have the best systems in the world and flashy and very bright dashboards, but if they're really too much, and if they're not 20-80% principles, so 20% of data that explain 80% of the results, it could be a problem. So simplicity is very important. Let us start from the first case study, a case study from Beckman Coulter, and it's about a story maker for revenue forecasting. So we're starting from a very simple story. The story that it's a very simple but interesting and very analytical solution. Pascal de la Puca, Global Shared Services Leader, Senior Director of Finance and Accounting at Beckman Coulter, is going to share the story with us. Pascal, the stage is yours. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon. So, yes, I guess I will start by trying to get a link with the storytelling, right? When we say storytelling, we believe, or we may have the belief, that it's all about something very much into the recent years. But actually, this goes very, very, very long back into the past. I was about to read that already in the old Greek times, there was pretty much common to talk about storytelling with three specific dimensions, which they were calling ethos, logos, and pathos. Trying to put this into nowadays, basically, the dimension of the storytelling would mean having or showing appeal, which is ethical, which is rational, which is emotional. So basically, trying to summarize this in one single quote, we may say that for an FP&A, which want to be modern, which want to be in the world of the data, storytelling meaning to be able to cut through the noise, to be able to capture the attention and make our voice heard to the audience to whom we're going to addressing our message. Next slide, please. So, Beckman Coulter. I currently work in Beckman Coulter. It's a long journey in this organization, and very clear For the ones who don't know the organization, Beckman Coulter is a key player into the in vitro diagnostic business. So it's a very, very niche industry. 80% is public tender with very little commitment from the end user. Average contract 7 years. Business model very much recurring, with instruments being placed at customer site and paid back through the consumables. So very much complex business dynamics, where the variation of the install base could give us an idea of how the business was going. From an FP&A standpoint, it was not easy. It was all about having run rate basis and trying to get to a number which was somehow true within 1 year. You may understand that the more we try to narrow down the period, the more difficult it becomes to get to a solid forecasting process. Then all of a sudden, in 2015, we started very much with patience a new journey. And this journey was about having a proper granular CRM deployed in the commercial organization, meaning very much into the sales and commercial execution. We tried to build an interface between the CRM and our planning tool, which is EPM. And then we tried to move, and that's the part of the journey, if you like, we tried to build a dynamic revenue bridge by business layers. So if you like, the ambition was not to have the usual rate, but try from a jump off point to add business layers and get into the landing point. Next slide, please. So we need to help our journey and our storytelling with the number of parameters which could, in a certain way, getting back to the rational part of the dimension we saw before. So, likelihood, we need to know the probability for us of winning or losing any single opportunity ID. Then we need to know when we are going to install or to disinstall the machine, or in other words, taking on or off from the routine, because this will impact the revenue that we're able to generate. But this needs to be theory. The only way to have those information becoming from data to information, we need to have a solid daily management. What does it mean? Weekly war room where all the team kind of huddle together, cross-functional participation, where people coming from different organizations were trying with an healthy conflict, if you like, also to challenge each other, getting to a better place. From a technology standpoint, all started with an Excel-based, and we are still under development when it comes to have a more sophisticated tool. And I'm sure that sooner than later, we're gonna get there. But before the tool, the good thing was having the team together, discussing, debating, and having a cross-functional participation. Next slide, please. So, again, the tool is the starting point. On top of everything, we as leaders, as finance partners, we need to invest in business understanding. We need to make sure that we challenge the status quo through insight, what if, scenario analysis. But also we need to make sure we tailor the message in a way that we don't lose the audience. And this is something that is not necessarily given, but needs to be built. And the capacity of engaging the audience and make the message absorbed is a key if we want to make the storytelling something successful. Next slide, please. So, conclusion from my side. Again, it goes on two levels. From a top down, as leaders, we need to set the tone at the top. We need to invest on the business understanding. We need to make sure that the team is following through and try to get out from the low value activities, which we all are supposed in a way to do. Invest in coaching and mentoring, which is extremely important to set the new class of leaders for the future. But on the other hand, we need to push accountability where it belongs. So in this example, we couldn't have any real revenue forecasting without having the massive participation of the sales organization, of the commercial organization. I guess this is from my side. Thank you, and I'm now ready to have discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pascal, for sharing your practical case study with us. Definitely, sometimes even simple solutions, they could be very practical and really transformative for FP&A business partnership. I would like to ask Angelica to comment on this. Angelica, what would be your key takeaways and your additions to this presentation?
Yes, hi, and thank you, Pascal. I think I couldn't agree with more with you. So it starts with the tool, but I would also add, as you said, that tool is of no use if you don't have that cross-functional alignment work that you did in advance. So aligning your functions, and then not only the commercial function, but also supply and demand planning. So you all together come into what the tool should do for you, and then you take it from there. So very insightful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angelica. Timo, would you like to share some of your insights?
I like the idea of a story maker. It's a great term. Information is power, as they say. I think everybody can recall a point in their career where they were in a big meeting and everybody was arguing their opinions, and suddenly somebody says, well, actually, I have data. And then everybody's eyes and ears in the room turn to that person and everybody's ready to hear something. That's the start of a story. And as you said, Pascal, I like this notion of the logos, the rationality. I think that's the part that everybody gets, but also the pathos, the emotion are both important to make sure that the message is completely absorbed. And then, of course, training. Information is a tool, but like any powerful tool, it requires skills to use the tool effectively. And I like the opening quote from John Sanchez: storytelling works as a lever to get the most out of the insight. So it's not just about the data, it's about using stories to power change and innovation and make a difference in the organization.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tima. Thank you, Pascal, as well.
Thank you.
This is the timing for our first polling question. We would like to hear from you, from our participants. I'm about to open the polling question, and I would like to ask you to start voting as soon as you see it. So I'm launching the polling question, and it's about the biggest barriers. What is the biggest barrier for effective FP&A storytelling in your organization? Please, can you start voting now? Please choose one, the most important barrier for you, the one that really happening in your organizations. Is it the poor quality of data? Is it outdated technology? Not so adequate skills, lack of time, not supportive business culture? Please, if you can continue to vote. I can see that more than 60% of you voted. So just a few seconds, I'm closing the poll and I'm sharing the results with everyone. So we can see that 35% of people said that poor quality of data, it's one of the biggest problems. So much in line with our survey, it continues to be the problem. Outdated technology, 17%, not enough skills, 15% lack of time, 14%, and not so supportive business culture that is not ready for FP&A storytelling. So I would like to ask you, Pascal, to comment on this. Any surprises?
Well, I guess no. Clearly, looking at the poor quality of data, it's jumping off the page as one of the first or biggest barrier. I guess, yeah, we can call out a poor quality of data as element, but on the other hand, I guess that we can still play a big role to make sure we as a team collaborate or to partner in a way to make sure that we enhance and we increase the quality of the available data. And again, it's all about getting better, not in the way of the perfection. So yeah, the 34% makes kind of sense. Also, kind of interesting that no supportive business culture. True, as long as the FP&A is just perceived as a something that we need to do or something which is kind of low value of crunching data, then clearly there is no investment which may justify the tone at the top and everything for enhancing the entire picture here. So yeah, I guess great information, great participation from the team, really.
Larissa, you may be on mute.
Sorry, yes, I was on mute. I would like to ask Angelica to comment on this as well. Angelica, are there any surprises for you? Anything that you think is not right?
No, I think this is of no surprise. Data is everything. Is the starting point of any storytelling and of anything we do, actually, of every analysis, every piece of every report that we run. It all starts with data. What it is also interesting to know is that number 2 is business culture. So that we don't have yet a culture around this, around the storytelling for FP&A and data culture too. So no, not surprised on this split between the barriers that we face in the function.
Thank you, Angelica. I'm hiding the results, and this is the time to go to the next presentation now. So we started from a very simple approach. Simplicity is important in storytelling, but obviously modern technology can help with the storytelling big way, in particular self-service analytics. Angelica, this is your stage. You're welcome to share the experience with us.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity of being here, and hello to everyone. I'm very happy to be here to discuss a topic that I am passionate about, which is self-service business performance management solutions and the key role that they play in storytelling. So once you have the data, and we have all kinds of data, the natural next step is to extract value from it. We have the potential, but it won't get realized until you actually can uncover insights and get them translated into action. As you saw from one of the quotes that Larissa showed, this ability of taking data, understanding it, processing it, extracting value from it, and then visualizing it to ultimately communicate it, it's a critical skill. And now with a self-service platform, you can really move and concentrate yourself on the story and help people to understand what is the story behind the numbers. So the need for data storytellers, for FP&A storytellers, is only going to increase. And with the self-service platforms available, now we will be turning for people that can drive insights and know how to communicate them. So if you see on this slide and this graphic presented by Brent Dykes in a very good article in Forbes, storytelling is the combination of 3 key elements: data, visuals, and narrative. So when you couple narrative with data, it helps you explain to your audience why a particular insight may be important. When you couple visuals with data, then you can enlighten the audience, and because some insights are uncovered and they wouldn't have been seen without charts or graphs. So many interesting patterns and outliers in the data would remain hidden in simple data tables. And we have seen examples in PepsiCo in simple things, just like a map, the power that a map can have. as we show country performance and its evolution across time, particularly helpful as we track the impact of the pandemic. It is something extremely powerful, but that it only can be achieved if you go through automation. So finally, when you combine this narrative with visuals, then you can engage your audience. But when you combine it all, so when you have truly the right visuals, the right data, the right narrative, then you can drive change. And the truth is that the world is changing, and it is changing fast. So we have no option but to drive the change. So let's start mastering the combination of these three elements. Tailor the message for different audiences and use the power of visualization. The senior the audience, the crisper the message. But the same happens with dashboards. One may not be suited for all levels of the organization. So choose wisely and leverage that dashboard, that view, to make the story that helps you to make your story more compelling. So if we move to the next chart, and I want to give you some key pointers around storytelling and why it's crucial as we aim to give context and meaning to the numbers and facts. Stories can help people to understand the numerical impact of what impact numerical information has. Whether if we want to cut costs across a function, if we want to move to the next phase of a project, if we want to reallocate resources, invest, this is truly helpful. But when you think of a presentation, an effective presentation, start with the final objective. What is the story that you would like to tell? What is your purpose? If you want to inform, influence, persuade, even educate, there are many reasons why we run data analysis. So get clarity on your goal first. And once you have decided your desired outcome, then you go backwards and work on it. Your presentation is a reflection of your thought process. So if your think is clear and logical, then your presentation will be too. I would also say the importance of being brief. We have a saying in Spanish from the 17th century that says, lo bueno si breve, dos veces bueno. The good, if brief, is twice as good. And one may add, if bad, not that bad. So be brief and crisp on your message. And remember that there are many visualizations tools available today, many sophisticated dashboards and visuals, but do not forget that less is more, and do not let the tool overtake your story. And if I move to the next slide as I finish my presentation, studies have shown again and again, and also Larissa presented that, there is a lot of time spent by finance teams in creating and updating reports. And the preference is that we should be dedicating none to this activity and really moving into the interacting and communicating with the business. This is where we belong as a function, business partnering. We are supposed to help to uncover insights, but that will never happen if we are buried in spreadsheets, consolidating and reconciling numbers across different systems and data sources. As you saw, as much as 42% of our teams spend their time in low value added activities. With this, of course, we're never going to become the true strategic advisors that we are meant to be. So here is where you truly make the most out of your self-service platform, where you start sharing in a self-service model income statements, operating cash flow statements, key performance indicators, that you really give the tools to navigate business performance. You can have trend analysis, brand. You can also combine it with external data sources. That is where you really can then move into the value-added side of things. I'm not saying it is easy. It is hard work because you need good data. And we saw that is the first thing that it is preempting us to do FP&A and proper FP&A storytelling. So you need good data, and then a dashboard is only as effective as its design. But believe me, once you crack it, it truly unlocks value. You can see how people start interacting differently with information. Instead of having a static data on paper, you really move to interaction, to navigation. You can go at your own pace and move it the way you want. So no more photocopying, no more binders. Digital. We are going digital, and finance is extremely well positioned to become the data owner and supply the information with the right single point of truth. So we can then discuss in meetings actions to take versus discussing what is the source of the number you are presenting, and everyone coming in a meeting with their different version of the truth. So this is my call to action. We are expected in finance not to report only data, but to add value, uncover insights, and we are called to be true business partners. And with that, I'm open to questions.
Thank you so much, Angelica. Excellent presentation, very passionate, definitely coming from your personal experience. We all know that you're implementing those in many countries around the globe. I would like to ask Pascal to comment on this and to give your insights on the subject.
Good. So, well, first, do you remember when I shared my presentation, there was a note on the dimensions and there was the pathos. So I guess Angelica has shown today how important is having the pathos when you really want to tell something. So this is a personal gratitude, if you like, for this. That makes clear what we are saying. So thank you, very much passionate, lovely to listen. 2 points on my side, where one, I guess, is the non-value. Absolutely, this is key. We need to elevate the tone of the discussion. We need to make sure we do not close our days by only having done crunching data, to call it into brackets, but we need to partner. This is clear. We need to uncover insights and everything. So this is a key. Looks like it is easier to say than to do in a certain way, or the history tell us this, but this is a key. And the second element, visual management. It looks like there was a part of visual management in your story which was absolutely key. And I personally believe that the visual management allows everybody to look into the same thing with the proper element rather than having a bunch of opinion falling through. So again, great presentation. Thank you, Angelica, very much.
Thanks, Pascal. Thanks.
Thank you, Pascal, for your commentaries. Timo, what would you like to add on the top of this?
I agree completely with Angelica. It's all about self-service access to data so people can spend more time on strategic work. Of course, everybody wants this. As we saw in the survey, what's holding them back is often the quality of data, but that ultimately is a business problem and not a technology problem. And financial teams, I believe in particular, have the power to reach across business silos and long business processes to help fix the processes that result in bad data in the first place. So the opportunity and perhaps the responsibility to save all of the wasted work that goes into fixing the data afterwards and getting it right in the first place. And technology can help to a certain extent. Your survey, Marissa, mentions that best-in-class FP&A teams only have to spend 20% of their time on data collection validation compared to 45% for the average company. And your last point about culture, we saw in the survey that culture can be a problem. Some people in some parts of the organization aren't necessarily ready to be empowered with self-service. They could be happy to do things the way they've always done them and don't see very much incentive to change. They see it as taking risks rather than an opportunity. So encouraging people and giving them the incentives to do the right thing is also very important.
Absolutely, Tima. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Angelica. Thank you, Pascal. Now we would like to hear from our audience. So this is the timing for the next polling question. I'm about to open it. I'm launching the polling question, and we would like to understand how you spend your time at the moment. On what tasks are you spending the majority of your time right now? Please, can you start voting? It's very easy to do, and we have 3 options on data reconciliation and reporting, on analyzing and interpretation of data, on storytelling and business partnering. So what is happening in your world? Please continue to vote. Almost 60% of you voted. I will give you a few moments before we close the poll, and share the results with everyone. So I'm about to close the poll, and I would like to share the results with everyone. Yes, it's not a surprise at all. Data quality, it continues to be an issue for many FP&A projects around the globe. 52% of you, they see this as the biggest barrier. 39% of you say that they're spending time on analyzing and interpretation of data. And only 9% of you are actually spending majority of time on storytelling and business partnering. Angelica, would you like to comment on this?
Yes, well, unfortunately, I'm not surprised again. But this is, guys, where I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that the self-service platform should help us to actually move and shift some of these percentages to the storytelling. It is not easy. You have to work on the foundation, which is the data. But if you do it right, really we can free up the time of our teams to shift to more value-add activities, to storytelling, to business partnering, and stop immediately the activities on reconciling data and creating reports that can be automated and self-served.
Thank you, Angelica. Timo, what would be your insights on this?
Again, I think that we can use technology to help, and I'll be explaining a little more in just a second.
Excellent. It's a good bridge to the next session. Let me hide the results and let us go to the next session right now. So, storytelling and technology and lessons learned from Tima Elliot. Timo, the microphone is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Tima Elliot. I'm an innovation evangelist for SAP, and I've been working with planning and analytics teams for around 30 years. And I'd like to talk to you about the technology aspects of storytelling. So let's start with what's happening in the world. Dashboards and analytics, of course, have been around for a long, long time, but recently there's been a huge surge in demand. Why? Well, first, because uncertainty has exploded, not just the pandemic, but also global trade tensions, Brexit in Europe, the increased frequency of extreme weather events. So the rules of thumb and the standard ways of doing business, the gut feel of business people have been thrown out of the window, and business people want more actual data than ever. Second, the stakes are higher than ever. We're not really talking about tinkering at the margins of stable business models anymore. It's about using data for survival in the present and new business models in the future. So this has led to renewed interest in 3 areas in particular. So first, doing more with less. Everybody I talk to is interested in anything that can help, such as self-service or cloud or machine learning, or there's a lot of interest in robotic process automation. Second, people want a glimpse into the future. They want to know what's about to happen. So there's a huge amount of interest in leading indicators and scenario planning and predictive technologies. And finally, though, agility. We don't know what's going to happen. The only thing we can be certain about is that it's going to be different from whatever we expect today. So organizations have to be prepared to gather data faster and then learn faster and act faster than the competition. Next slide, please. Over the years, I've had the honor of working with perhaps hundreds of different dashboard and data visualization storytelling projects over the years. So here are some of the biggest technical barriers to success. The first and most important is trust, and we've already seen it in the surveys here. The most powerful and attractive dashboard in the world is useless if the underlying data is inaccurate. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. Almost all the organizations I've worked with have systematically underestimated the time and effort it takes to get good data and then get people to believe that it's good data. Second, there's nothing more frustrating than a visualization that indicates there's a problem but can't explain why, when people have to go to a different set of tools rather than be able to just drill from a high-level view down to the underlying business problem. Third, everything today is changing so fast. So real-time access to data is more important than ever. As we saw in the survey, only 35% of organizations today say that their C-suite executives have access to real-time data. Technology is helping. The power of cloud platforms and new in-memory systems are making this more achievable than ever. For the storyboarding, planning analytics teams, as we've heard, shouldn't just deliver the figures. They should be pre-interpreted and annotated and adding maps, as Angelica said, to deliver the key insights to their business stakeholders in a way that they can really easily understand and act upon. It has to be simple and business-centric. And finally, executives want to be able to compare what-if scenarios in order to make the best decisions. Let's look at some quick examples of dashboards in action. So first, this is SAP's CFO, Luka Mucic, demonstrating the dashboards that we use across all of our systems. This storyboarding, it's used directly in board meetings instead of PowerPoint slides. So for example, it's used for pipeline forecasting, and it's been particularly useful recently with all the changes. Just one example, we canceled almost all staff travel and physical events, and the system was used to project the effects on profitability. So it has full support for value drivers and what-if analysis and scenario planning in the cloud. So the idea is in the boardroom, one of the board members can say, well, but what if that number were different? And we can see in real time against the real data what effect that would have. Next example is from a company called Ferrera Candy. It's just a recent nice example of a company that undertook a big acquisition where they needed a lot of visibility, and they were able to get the information they needed to run the business in real time, literally at their fingertips, to accelerate the combination of the different systems that they needed to undertake. And finally, the dashboards have been used recently to help organizations of all kinds cope with the pandemic. Next slide, please. For example, the busiest emergency department in the US used a cloud-based dashboard to quickly bring data together from multiple different systems to get the insights they needed for literally life-saving decisions. And here you can see the country of Morocco using it for the same kind of purpose. Looking forward, next slide, there are some great new exciting opportunities with storytelling, with AI-driven analytics and planning. Fully 37% of organizations are planning to implement these kinds of technologies within the next couple of years, according to the FP&A Trends survey that we sponsored. So for example, we can just make it easier to access data than ever before, the ability to ask questions using natural language. Show me the budget versus actuals by region or by product or business unit. So no clicking buttons, just asking questions. Then we can use AI to do some of the data crunching for us, automatically spotting anomalies and outliers and determining the primary influences on key indicators, helping guide our analytics and help explain what's happening behind the numbers. And I'm seeing massive interest in all kinds of predictive planning, the ability to easily create a predictive forecast from your planning model and then inject the results directly into your projections is just incredibly useful, not just for expense and cost planning, but also revenue and sales planning and headcount planning and so on. Lots of organizations that I'm talking to are using this, from constructions to car parks to airlines. Ultimately, though, success with dashboarding and data storytelling isn't about technology. Next slide. It's fundamentally about people, about your information culture. Inertia is a huge problem. People cling to the old ways of looking at numbers, even when they're shown something better. So there have to be incentives in place. Managers have to send a clear top-down signal that only data from the system will be accepted for decision-making, for example. No spreadsheets on the sides in the meeting. In particular, there's a lot of problems when the indicators start flashing red, where something goes wrong. In some organizations, the dashboards are used as a bat to assign blame rather than as a tool to come up with constructive solutions. And so people spend time optimizing their excuses rather than fixing the underlying problem. In general, I find people don't spend enough time thinking through these people problems. Data is not neutral, not when somebody's career or livelihood might be on the line. It's not a technology exercise. It really does impact company processes, teams, and individuals. And data has to be actionable. You can't just show everything. Lots of effort needs to go into making sure that the indicators really are actionable. Why do you want to see that number? What would too high be? What would you do if it were too high? And finally, I see a lot of brittleness in dashboarding and data visualization projects, far more than any other area. Executive sponsors leave. The new executive, almost by definition, wants to see a different set of indicators in a different format and a different tool, and everything cycles around again. So if you want consistency over time, there has to be a broad consensus around the KPIs that you're tracking, around the stories that you want to tell. And the technology itself has to, of course, be flexible enough to be able to adapt to the changes as people come and go. With that, back to you, Larissa.
Timo, thank you so much. Excellent presentation, a lot of interesting examples, and looking into the future where a lot of things will continue to develop. Angelica, would you like to comment on this, please?
Yes, hi. Well, Timo, I couldn't agree more with everything, every point that you just said, starting with the data, the culture that you need around it, also about the trends of where are we going, the consistency that we need to keep on key performance indicators, so everything doesn't change as managers come and go. So great presentation. This is where my heart is with technology, with the future, and how can we truly put technology to work for us in finance. So excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. Pascal, what would be your commentaries?
Yeah, so again, I mean, let me first join Angelica and being super happy about this presentation. Timo was really able to drive very concisely and very crisply those information, which are very of an excitement for all of us here that try to make some FP&A, right? So this is definitely good. Couple of things that I saw there. First would be still there in the slide, handling bad news. There is so much about culture in handling bad news, especially in an organization not necessarily mature enough, where the month end is still something to achieve no matter what. Handling the bad news is always something where people try to hide behind, and nobody want to be the messenger to be blamed. So I guess that when we push on technology, visual management, and data, in a certain way, indirectly, we help also the culture of an organization to accept the bad news as they are. So the tool helping the culture to accept and move in a developing situation. So to me, this is great. And the technology, I mean, he was mentioning the next step, AI, robotics. I'm sure there 70% of what we do today won't exist in few years, completely replaced and rescattered by the robotics, the automation, and everything, especially in the transactional part. So hope to be still there and ride the wave of the progress. Thank you, Timo, really.
I really liked your point about how obviously culture affects the success of dashboards, but I think the transparency you get by exposing data can also very much help culture, as you say. I think it's an absolutely important tool in changing the organization so that it is more data driven.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pascal. Thank you, Tima. Great discussion. And now, just before Q&A session, This is the time for very quick 30 seconds key takeaways from each one of you. What would you like our participants to remember the most after your presentations today? Pascal, your 30 seconds, please.
So, wow, lots of things over the last 40, 50 minutes. So trying to pick two. Finance leaders. The finance leaders need to help this transformation journey. And this goes through us kind of allocating the right investment to this investment in terms of any kind of resources, from the time, from the people in the team to be exposed to the Gamba things. Also, somehow in terms of technology and money to make sure we are on the edge of the technology. So this is clearly something that we have to do. We cannot blame the fact that the data are not good, but at the same stage, we don't want to invest in make things better. So clearly, we need to stand there and defend this nature of investment. So for me, this is the right element of setting the tone at the top as a finance leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal. Thank you for your insights. Angelica, your 30 seconds, please.
Yes, hi. Building on this from Pascal, three things. One, it all starts with data. So this digital mindset, it is key that we start embedding this into the organization, because this is what will allow number two, unlocking the self-service model. So really you can shift your time to focus on the story. And number three, embrace the change, walk the talk, lead by example. If there is a self-service platform there, use it, improve it, make it better. Do not default to the old ways of working. But so this is it: data, self-service model, walk the talk, and lead by example.
Great reminders, Angelica. Thank you so much. Tima, your key takeaways, 30 seconds.
So as I said, data storytelling isn't fundamentally about technology, but of course, I tend to think that technology can help. Investments in data quality and automation in particular can go a long way towards getting a solid, trusted information foundation in place so that you can free up time and effort for more strategic activities and concentrate on getting the most out of the most important technology of all, and that is people. Ultimately, the most important thing in business is understanding what's important. And so data can help with insights, but only people can turn those insights into innovation. And of course, at SAP, we'd love to help, and I'd like to wish everybody the best of luck with their projects.
Thank you, Timo. Thank you, everyone. This is the timing for Q&A session. We have a lot of questions. I would like to remind everyone to use your text boxes to type, to send those questions to us. Don't worry if we wouldn't have time to answer all of them. We will do this in offline regime. We will send this to you after the meeting. The first question is to you, Pascal. A quick question about how long did it take to integrate your CRM and your planning tool? And is it already 100% integrated?
So the journey started in 15, and we are now in 20, and we can now say that we are pretty much there, even if we're far away from being perfect. So to this extent, I guess you need to count on a 3 to 5 years, but then clearly depends on the size of the organization and how scattered the opportunities are within the business arena. But 3 to 5 years to have something which makes sense with the level of accuracy which starts to be significant. Not less than that for a fair size of an organization. Today we are pretty much there. Still, at every month end, we figure out that something was not yet done, and there was a kind of haha moments. But overall, I guess we are pretty much there. But still, now we have the second step, which is tooling, because so far it was very much Excel and VBA driven, which starts to be way too old-fashioned eventually. So it goes back to what I was saying before.
Thank you, Pascal. Thank you for your answer. Angelica, the next question is to you. How does self-service and storytelling fit together? Does a self-service risk that users make up their own stories? What do you think?
Well, interesting. Well, what having the self-service platform, what it helps is to create the one source of truth, because you can do as much as you want. The data is there, and the facts are there. But it is true that you always need a narrative behind, and you need to start putting the color behind those numbers, and it is then the job of the FP&A to do so. You can tweak and lead the story, but you can easily get caught, because if you have the same data, the same service platform available for the rest, if you are trying to direct the story one way where the facts and the data may be leading other, it is not only available to you, it is available to the rest. This is what a self-service platform does, creates transparency. So you cannot only tell what you want to tell, but as you go and move to standards, you make it available to everyone. So it is not straightforward, but what a self-service platform does is gives you the transparency and the one source of truth to everyone in the organization. So you cannot get away with adjusting the data to tell the story the way you want to tell it.
Excellent. Thank you, Angelica. Timo, the next question is to you. How do you combine a traditional budgeting process versus actual variance analysis commentaries and annotations with AI-powered analysis?
So this is part of the latest developments in these platforms, and in particular at SAP, we have SAP Analytics Cloud, which is a combined analytics and planning solution that has all of the embedded augmented analytics that we just talked about. Obviously, it works, it's tightly integrated with the SAP systems, but it is indeed independent. You can actually use it on top of any data coming from any system. So I talked to customers that are using it for, well, I mentioned hospitals. So hospitals use a completely different system for their hospital beds and so on, but they turn to our planning and analytics solutions for that quick cloud-based dashboarding, annotations, storyboarding going forward.
Thank you, Timo. I would like to close our Q&A session right now, but don't worry, you still can send your questions. As I said, there are a lot of them, and we are not able to answer them in real time, but we will be able to send you our answers in approximately 1 week time. So please, if you would like, if you still have questions, you are welcome to ask them. Now this is the time, and just remind you about our upcoming FP&A Trends webinars. We are going to talk about the key success factors for connected and collaborative FP&A very soon on October the 22nd. And also there will be another subject, the power of driver-based and predictive FP&A on November the 10th. And the registration process is open, and you're welcome to join us. And before we conclude this session, I would like to say thank you so much to our partner and our sponsor, SAP. Thank you so much for your global support, and thank you for your support at this particular webinar as well. And when I say thank you so much to all of you and to our panel as well, I would like to remind you that it's so important for us in FP&A to be effective and efficient FP&A business partner. And FP&A business partnering, it's all about shaking the status quo. It's all about analytical business culture. And obviously the way how we can do this through storytelling. I would like to say thank you so much to our fantastic panel today, Pascal, Angelica, Timo. Thank you so much. It was great to hear from you, and thank you for sharing your amazing insights with all of us. And I would like to say thank you so much to all our participants from 55 countries around the globe. Please stay with us, please share your stories with us, and let us move FP&A to the next level. So we are closing the webinar, but please stay here in order to share the survey with us. We would like to understand how we can make it better. Thank you so much, and all the best, everyone.